Slide 4. So there are two different kinds of ways that things can mutate, right? So you can have DNA mutate because it's inherited from your parents, right? So there's something wrong with the DNA in the sperm or in the egg. Or they can be acquired over the course of your lifetime. And so they can be caused by different things. So, one of the things that can cause mutations over the course of your lifetime is exposure to certain chemicals. So one of the it's been in the news lately, so I'm going to use this as an example, is the pesticide called, not pesticide, herbicide called Roundup. And what an herbicide does is it kills weeds, basically. And it usually comes in this big white container and you spray it on stuff. And so it's been caused to actually be cancer causing, right? Because it's a very, very toxic chemical. That's an example of exposure to certain chemicals. I don't think anybody loves bacon more than me. But bacon has preservatives in it called nitrates, and nitrates have also been um, shown to cause cancer. Okay, so that's one example. Exposure to radiation. So, radiation is a form of energy, and too much radiation can disrupt DNA. And one of the ways that can be your DNA can be disrupted by radiation is if you've ever had an X-ray, whether it's at the doctor's office or because you broke an arm or something, they'll take this lead apron because X-rays won't get through lead. They take this apron, which is really heavy, it has lead in it, and they cover up your front part. And the reason why they're covering up your front part is they're trying to protect your sex cells, right? Because they can damage eggs and sperm. So they try to keep them covered. Viruses. Viruses is another way that genetic mutations can occur. So one example of this is I used to work at UMass Medical Center in research, and there is a type of rat there. It's called the BB Wisser rat, and all over the world, these rats are used because they're diabetic. And so the diabetic rats can be forced to become diabetic by injecting them with a specific virus. And the reason why they found this is quite a few years ago, like, oh my gosh, 30, 40 years ago, there was a sewer eruption in the basement of UMass where they were keeping rats. And so they got everything cleaned up. And then they realized, oh my gosh, these rats are diabetic. And they found that in the sewer, there was a specific virus. And that virus, when the rats were exposed to it, made them become diabetic. So now people all over the world buy these rats because they're diabetic rats and they can do experiments on them. Okay, so that's an example of a virus um, causing a genetic mutation. Aging in and of itself causes genetic mutations. Okay, and so when you think of DNA, very often you think of the double helix, but um, if they are in if they're in a cell that is duplicating, they look like chromosomes. Okay, and so this is what a chromosome looks like. And so the chromosomes have these little parts on the top called telomeres. And as the cell ages, those telomeres on the end become shorter and shorter and shorter. And so that is considered, because is it a change in your DNA? Yep. So that is considered a mutation. And another one is hormones. And so there are chemicals in our environment that can actually cause cancer because they affect us as hormones would. Okay. And so they're looking at things that they mimic hormones. All right. So that's another thing that we have to worry about. We're not going to focus on that here. Another one is lifestyle. So lifestyle is something you have control over, right? And so if you smoke, it makes sense that you have a higher risk of developing lung cancer. If you drink, you have a higher incidence of developing liver cancer, right? Because liver cleans out the toxins, and there's a lot of toxic byproducts in alcohol. And so, if you are living a certain lifestyle, sometimes you have a higher risk of having mutations in your DNA because you're exposed to different things.